In this next game, wanted to show how we can get overlap in our openings and ideas. When I wrote Master of the French Defense, I began to have a deeper and deeper appreciation of what minor pieces I should be looking to trade and what I should keep and the resulting endgames. Because the French really accentuates the good bishop versus bad bishop because of the fixed pawn structure. And in this game, I decide to play the Owens Defense. And, you know, well, why are you talking about French when we're looking at the Owens? Well, when we have our initial breakdown of the position, and these themes are definitely applicable to our Nimzo Larsen crowd out there. Knight f3 is played. Bishop b4. We're pinning the knight and looking to grab the e-pawn for free. So bishop d3 to hold the e-pawn. How can I apply more pressure here? Knight f6. And after queen e2, how can I apply more pressure here? d5. And after e5, as a French player, you almost always go knight d7. But because we have a bishop on b7, we have the extra option of knight e4, and black has already equalized in the position. And as a note, we have this French locked pawn chain in the center. So bishop d2. Let's go ahead and really start to break down how to make a plan here. And my experience in the French tells me I have a bad bishop. Not in the position immediately to play a move like bishop a6 to try to trade off the bad bishop. But also, I may have a tactical problem here after bishop d2 because white could play knight takes e4 and my bishop on b4 is not exactly in great shape. Loose pieces drop off. So the question is here, how do I handle this tension that's going on after bishop d2? My immediate thought is, well, what type of position is this? Open or closed? Some people are going, well, it's closed because you have the locked center. Position can open up quite quickly in these French structures once the breaks start happening. I do feel that the bishops are going to be better. So what am I going to capture? I'm going to start with capturing the bishop. And then also, after queen takes, this now gives us that important possibility. Just bishop a6. Simple, effective, get rid of the opponent's best piece. Now the reason I selected this game wasn't because of the overlapping French ideas. It was the next move. Because I just made a pre-move and just reasonable, you know. What's the difference between bishop a6 and castling? Bishop a6 trades off a bad piece and we're safe. Well, I castled and I was going to play bishop a6 next. I didn't feel there was really anything white could do to stop it. But after castling, this is actually a completely winning position for white. I walked right into death in this one. So I'll even flip it around for you. Let's go ahead and give you the flip around perspective. So I have castled in a situation where my king has no defenders. That's one of those problems with the space gaining e5. It kicks away the knight, which is the best defender of the king side. How best to continue the attack? Now that you know that there's an attack, see if you couldn't finish me off in the position. Well, my opponent in the game castled. We can do better than that. Aggression. Knight g5. So, I still didn't see it yet. I'm like, okay, engine, you tell me. I go h6 and I say, go away. Well, white's not going away. He's got a nice square on h7. And even here, I still don't see it. You see it? Piece placement. Knight f6. If you don't take the rook. Oh, goodness. Oh, a twofer. And this is how you know I don't edit my videos. It's all one take, baby. Okay, so back to normal. G takes f6, kind of committed. Well, how about we bring the queen in now? So we've got that big threat on h7. So f5. And it seems as if we're out of trouble. No? The position gets opened up no matter what. This is completely winning for white. All of black's pieces are on the queen side, not helping. So this is a beautiful attacking idea that my 2400 rated opponent missed, as we're just going through the motion in the opening. And this happens a lot, even in high-level games, that in blitz and bullet people will just play what is a natural move. But notice how I'm going slower. Things stick out more as we're going through the game. But I wanted to highlight this beautiful and aggressive tactical idea, because especially when doing analysis, you need to be objective. And this is a problem that I've seen for years in annotated games. People will typically only look at their perspective or show how they could have done things better. But you're not truly analyzing the game if you're only looking for how you could do things better. You need to see how the opponent could have exploited issues so you can fix those problems for yourself in future games. Well, I castled, and I was very, very fortunate that my opponent castled, and then I get back to the regularly scheduled programming. Should have played bishop a6 before and never would have had any issues. Alarm bells should have went off for me that I was not safe on the king side. Now that I've gotten the good trade, this is the next question. Well, I know I'm supposed to trade off my bad bishop. I've done it. We're good now. Okay, so what's the plan? Well, when a3 happens, we already have a critical moment here. Do I trade or do I go now? If you trade, white's just going to take back with the queen. What have we accomplished? We will have knight versus knight, no imbalance. You got a c-pawn break in the future. Is it anything? So is that the good bishop or the bad bishop? Well, this is a good bishop because it can always attack those fixed pawns in the center in every endgame. So I'm going to keep the bishop. Important. Now, white understands that my break is going to be c5. Goes knight e2, so when I play c5, c3 and the pawn chain can be maintained. My opponent clearly understands the pawn structure and how this is supposed to be played. If I'm too quick to try to play moves like f6, I could very well run into knight f4 ideas, and my e-pawn could become weak in the long term. So I'm not playing on the king side, the center is locked, the queen side is still my domain. So how can we improve here? If white ever takes, I feel like this is going to be a big benefit to us, as our a6 knight is going to be able to jump in, where it'll have ideas to go to e4 or b3 immediately. So what's a move that could improve the position and kind of wait and see? Rook c8. If this is where the action's at, if we trade, white wants to keep our knight from getting to c5. So they'll take back with a pawn, which will open up the c file. If they don't, our knight gets a great square. So rook fc1. And still, when I take, if I was to take right now, there would just be a lot of liquidation. If I'm trying to outplay the opponent, I need more power over here. So I'm going to go queen d7 first. And this is another flexible move. I have ideas of potentially bringing the queen to one of these two squares, as well as doubling up rooks maybe, and just having the time to redeploy the knight and try to go after key squares that way. So I've got a few different slow positional plans here, and notice how white is playing in reaction to me. Where's their typical attack? If you go back a few videos, you can see in the advanced Caro-Kann that I played that typically in the structure you need a light square bishop and you're playing for an f-pawn break. None of that's happening for white, so white's going to have to wait. b4. Seems like a pretty good move. Now that knight b8, knight c6, knight a5 idea is off the table, but I go ahead and play knight b8 anyway. So I know one way or another action's going to happen. And when I come to c6 next, if the b pawn is pushed, I'll go to a5 anyway. So my opponent decides to liquidate. And who is this going to benefit as the position opens more? Probably the player with the bishop. I'm going to let that pawn sit there. No reason to take and improve his structure. So now knight c6. Finally, this knight's starting to get to a good square. Only took 18 moves. Knight a5. c4 square is looking pretty mean at this point. Why not just come right in? Now, I need to make sure that black is contesting this open file because white is about to have full dominance here. So rook b8. Let's trade a set. Now it's a good time to grab in the center because finally we've got coordination and nothing is defending after I've traded off a set. Bothering me there. What's the best way to defend? We have a few options. Well, bishop b2 looks kind of speculative to me. Just come back home. Outside pass pawn is going to be our main focus. So knight c3, a5. Great square for that knight still on c4, helping usher the a pawn. No back rank problems. Let's go ahead and anchor the bishop with a pawn and shut down white's queen from potentially coming into the position. Now what, ditto. I don't want to have to worry about any back rank problems either. And when you come to c5, which I was figuring you were going to do, I'm going to go ahead and clip and then go queen c7, not rook c8. Okay, well, why queen c7? Because we're hitting both pawns. We're hitting the e pawn as well as the c pawn. Now, what's the more dangerous pawn here? The c pawn. So let's make sure that we're dealing with that. Now we're just completely winning here. Let's stifle counterplay. It's okay. Queen's on a good square. I don't like that. Could you go away, please? All right, you don't want to trade? I insist. Now that I've gotten your queen to go away to a defensive position, I can start pushing my pawn again. Don't want to hang my queen in one move, so would you like to trade? I'm in the trading business when I'm up material with an outside pass pawn that's going to win the game. Another good square. All right. Queen b2. Notice I'm very insistent. And when I'm not getting trades, I'm improving my position. Rook a8. And now, a little bit of calculation. Should we push the a pawn? I'm not in a hurry to push the a pawn because my knight's defending it. I want to optimize first. Rook a4. Setting up some threats. Knight c2. Everyone's always in such a hurry to press the advantage. It's not principle of one weakness, it's principle of two. g5. Let's undermine the pawn structure and give a route for our king to come up into the game and wreak havoc on the pawn structure. So, slow and steady improvements. We'll clip there. Now, go away. Figured out a different way to hold the pawn, as well as knight c3 becomes a threat in a lot of variations. Now with our king optimized, we're also hitting the f-pawn. I'd say we've improved all of our pieces to maximum effectiveness. We take those. I'm going to come right back. Now after you check me, I don't even want the e-pawn here. I don't need it. h5. Now I take, because it was much better for me to protect that outside past h-pawn. Rook b3 check. Just seeing if I could get him to step on the g-file, so that would come with check. Now there's little that can be done to stop that idea, and black wins. So hopefully you enjoyed this game in the Owens defense and saw some overlap in the pawn structure and ideas with the French defense and trading off good versus bad bishop, and why you should be critical when you don't have any protection on your king side when castling. Be looking for those tactics. Never turn off the tactical radar. Hopefully you enjoyed this one and it helped you out.